Small town of American, life appeared picture perfect. Families gathered on front porches, children played in the streets, and neighbors trusted one another. But beneath this peaceful surface, there lingered whispers of a forgotten darkness, a story long buried and never told. People spoke of strange happenings late at night, flickering lights in the woods, screams carried by the wind, and faces that never returned home. The townsfolk avoided discussing it openly, as though silence could erase the past. Yet, behind closed doors, elders warned their children not to venture too far into the trees. A sense of dread hung heavy in the air, unspoken but shared by all who lived there. This was not just superstition or folklore. It was the beginning of a disturbing truth, one that would resurface in the most terrifying way possible when the first disappearance occurred. It started with a girl who had her whole life ahead of her. She was last seen leaving a late-night party, her laughter echoing down the quiet street as she promised to be home before midnight. But she never made it back. When the sun rose, her bed was empty, her phone left behind, and her parents' worst fears had come true. The police responded quickly but dismissed the case as a runaway, believing she had chosen to leave town. Yet her family knew otherwise. She wasn't the type to run away. Friends admitted she had confided about feeling watched in recent weeks, noticing shadows following her path home. Panic grew as flyers covered the town, but every lead ended in silence. This was not just one girl lost. It was the beginning of a nightmare that would shake the entire town to its core, with no end in sight. As the days turned into weeks, tension spread throughout the community. Then came the reports from the forest on the town's edge. Locals swore they heard voices calling their names, saw lantern-like lights moving between the trees, and even felt someone breathing close behind them, though no one was there. Some hunters reported finding personal belongings deep in the woods, shoes, jewelry, and even a torn jacket, but no bodies. Old legends resurfaced, stories told decades ago about the cursed land and how the town was built over something terrible. Children were warned not to step foot beyond the tree line, while adults avoided it altogether. Despite growing fear, the police insisted there was no evidence of foul play. Still, the whispers in the woods grew louder with each passing night, and families began locking their doors earlier, praying not to hear footsteps outside their windows after dark. Something sinister was watching them. One evening, everything changed when a man, long presumed missing, stumbled back into town. His clothes were torn, his face pale, and his eyes haunted. He refused to speak at first, terrified of what might happen if he did. After days of silence, he finally whispered fragments of his story: the nights of captivity, the rituals in the forest, and the faceless figures who watched over him. His words chilled everyone who listened. He described strange markings carved into trees and underground passages where cries echoed endlessly. Though many doubted him, the details he shared matched what locals had secretly feared for years. His survival was a miracle, but it came at a cost. He was never the same again. The town could no longer ignore the truth. A silent witness had returned, and his disturbing tale confirmed that something far darker than imagination was unfolding among them. Spurred by his confession, investigators expanded their search beyond the woods. What they found shocked even the most skeptical. Hidden beneath thick layers of earth were entrances to tunnels no one knew existed. These passages stretched for miles, carved with symbols no one could understand. Within them lay disturbing evidence: discarded belongings from those who had gone missing, scraps of clothing, broken jewelry, and children's toys. The air was thick with decay, and the silence carried an eerie weight. Some sections of the tunnels were sealed, suggesting someone wanted their secrets kept hidden. The discovery linked disappearances from decades ago with those happening now, revealing a chilling pattern that had spanned generations. Each item recovered told a silent story of suffering. The townsfolk realized this was not just random tragedy. It was systematic, planned, and deeply buried, both underground and in their own history. The nightmare was just beginning. The shocking discoveries rattled the town, but what came next shook it to its core. Journalists uncovered documents hinting at a cover-up stretching back decades. Old police reports had been altered, names of witnesses erased, and files mysteriously missing. Retired officers admitted they were pressured to close cases quickly, dismissing disappearances as runaways or accidents. It became clear that powerful people, Those meant to protect the community had known something was wrong all along, but chose silence. Whispers spread that town officials, business leaders, and even law enforcement had a hand in keeping the truth buried. The once trusted guardians of safety were now suspects in a web of lies. The more the truth unraveled, the darker it became. The town's history wasn't just troubled. It was built on secrets and silence, a deliberate effort to hide what had been happening in plain sight. When the truth finally surfaced, it was darker than anyone had imagined. The disappearances were not isolated, but part of a chilling ritual tied to the very foundation of the town. Historical records revealed the land had been taken through violence generations ago, leaving behind curses and unatoned sins. Each disappearance echoed those past atrocities, as though the town itself demanded payment. Survivors spoke of masked figures and ceremonies that had been practiced in secret for decades, ensuring the silence of anyone who got too close. The evidence gathered painted a terrifying pattern that no one could deny. Families were forced to confront the fact that their community wasn't built on trust and unity, but on shadows and suffering. The truth spread beyond the town, leaving people everywhere questioning how far human darkness can reach when hidden behind closed doors. The story concluded with a haunting revelation. This was the first time the full truth had been told. For years, the community lived in fear and silence, pretending that normal life could erase the horrors underneath. But once the evidence, testimonies, and history were pieced together, there was no going back. The disturbing reality was that the town had been complicit, knowingly or not, in burying a nightmare that destroyed countless lives. Even as the truth came out, many details remained unresolved, fueling the fear that it could happen again. The town changed forever. Some fled, some stayed, and some still refused to believe. Yet, the story lived on, whispered by those who survived, and now revealed for the first time. It was a disturbing, true story he never revealed before, one that proved sometimes the darkest secrets are hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered.